Okay, this is Tutorial 11, which we're going to push a view from the root view controller, another table view. But before we do that, there's something I'd like to talk about in regards to pushing a view, and in regards to the way we were doing these things. And I mean, I presented to you in this way, where you saw these. We check to make sure a navigation controller is present. The only caveat to doing things like that is that you have to, on the Viewdidload, you have to release those objects. So, and of course, on the Deallocate, you should deallocate those as well. All right, and actually, yeah, so we just get rid of this. This is an error here. I just was testing something. Okay. So we released them here. When we unloaded and we deallocated here. So what is a big deal here? Well, in the root view, these are going to remain active until you unload them. Every other view after the root view, it's not an issue. If I load up a table view from this point on, and then from that table view, I infinitesimally, if I could, load table views. Once I came back to the first table view I loaded after the root view, all other variables would have been released. So you're only holding on to a few extra variables. It's not that great of a big deal in terms of how we do this. But what I'm going to do here and explain to you that so long as, I'm going to just comment these out, so long as you are not wiping out any array before you push a table view, and there is reasons to do that, or a picker, to clean out all of the arrays and then load them back up, you're not going to have an error. So what I'm going to also do here is, right here, I'm going to take this variable out of play, and since I don't need this one here, I'm going to pull it out here as well. It cleans up some code there. Actually, let's just wipe it. And actually, this has got to go too. This is, again, a testing. That sure is truly, whoops. Okay, whoops, sorry. Put it in there. Okay. And this is also incorrect. The only one we should have is the app delegate here. And of course, the navigation controllers, and so on. So this cleans up our code here nicely. If we go back to this point of view here, we're getting a deallocate issue. We'll get rid of that for a minute. Navigational controller is fine. We then come down to that line that we had to add, here it is, add the dwarf. Over here, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, and we're going to remove this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually declare the variable right here. I'm going to say add, whoops, not add navigational controller. That didn't tell us sense. Add dwarf view controller, and we're going to call it AV controller. And right, so there we go. So we've created this here. The navigational controller, I'm going to pull that too. Whoops. Do that all the time. Okay. The navigational controller is still there, so that's okay. We're not redeclaring it anywhere, and we're only using it really here. And then the two things we have to do after we push this, just to show you, are You guessed it. Release them. Again, what happens is if you going to run it, if you have wiped out the arrays that fill it, it presents you with an error because it can't reload. Here we go. Cancel. You can do it indefinitely. Cancel. It's fine, and it runs just as it did before. Jenny. Type Jenny in here and save it. Add it. Okay, beautiful. But what happens is now we've tidied up everything here and here to, let me get this out of the way. This is the, drop it down as far as I can. The controllers here now are automatically released when the view comes up. What are the benefits? We get rid of them from memory quickly. We also don't have to declare them here, and that cuts down on a lot of code and a lot of excess things. That's the pro to it. The con to it is this, is that anything involving the pushing of this view, whether it would be the title from here, anything from here that we'd want to set up in this portion would have to be done before we release it. Unless we come to the Add Dwarf View Controller here, and the Deallocate, we use it here. This Viewdidload, we do them here. Like, for example, I did this self-title here. So you say, well, if I do the title here, why would I want to do it here? Well, there's a good reason why. Let's say, for example, I want to pick up the name of the item I've selected. All right? And I want to make that the title of my new view. I can't do it here, because once I push the view, I now no longer have access to what the item was that was selected. So say I selected happy, right? I couldn't do that from here. Here it's Add Dwarf, right? If for some reason you will see that in a moment. You'll see it. You'll see what I'm talking about when we push this new view. So the point is, you want to get things nice and tidy here. And the other time you cannot use this is if you wipe out the arrays when in the will appear method of your table view, and then repopulate them. The reason is because there has to be something there to populate the table view. If it isn't, it will error out. So there is a reason why this will work, and this almost always works this way. But there are reasons why it won't work other ways. Okay, so quickly, we're going to create this new view. We're going to go File, New, right here. Whoops, I'm jumping, sorry. New File. And it comes up. It's a UI View Controller subclass, right? We want a Table View Controller. It's already selected here, right? And we're going to call this one Detail View Controller. Okay, alright, and save that. Okay, I just want to look here for a minute in this class just to, actually the root view controller, I take that back. This is the method we're going to use to fire off our detail. We're going to go from the item we select and then go into a new table view. You notice the way they have it set up, exactly as we are talking here. Okay? And then they release it, and they push it here. This code's already been put in there. I didn't touch this. It's there for us. So, and we have Detail View Controller. It happens to be the name of the, we're going to uncomment this, happens to be the name of the classes here. So now why are we erroring out here? Well, we don't have access to this variable, and we have to do that. We have to import it, right? Oh boy, it's better to there we go, type slowly. There we go. Then to type quickly. Whoops, that's demo app. Sorry. Haste makes waste. There we go. Okay. And let's see now how we doing here. Okay. Hang on. And the nib name has to be in here, right? Our nib name. Our nib name in this case is also detail view controller. Right? And bundle is nil. We're getting an... Oh, I see. They put the default names in here, but we've got to type them in. Otherwise it won't pick them up. Those are not actual names. They're not in blue. They're not actual classes. Okay. There we go. And then, of course, we push it and we release it. At this point, we're going to take the nib and move it down into our views. Look at the nib for a second. Nib is a table view. All right. We're going to double click here. It's already set up for us. Our data source and our everything is set up for us. We don't really have to touch anything. We can play games with things if we want here. We can modify things here based upon let's see. Set table view. There we go. We can modify things in here if we want to, and but for now we'll leave it. We're going to go into the root view controller here. I'm sorry, not root view. The detail view controller. There we go. We need to look at that one. Remember when we have a table view, got some warnings here. Return the number of sections. We're going to go 1. This is going to be a standard table view. We're going to comment this out. Okay, so we have 1 section. We're not breaking that up at all. And the number of rows in section. For the purpose of this one, we're going to do a static array. So we can do this quickly. On the Viewdidload here, we're going to declare an NS mutable array, right? I don't know. Detail array equals array allocate initialize with objects. There we go. And we'll type in good, kind, right, gentle. We don't need to have too many items in here. Whoa, sorry. Got 11 telesons. It's oh, I'm sorry, we got to put an at sign there. Every time you put a string on, you must have an at sign in there. Good, kind, gentle. At nice. And last but not least, we'll put in, oh, I don't know. That's nice. We'll put in easy. And the nil is there. We should be able to close this. Boom, like that, and like that. And I think we're okay. And of course, the array variables used. We initialize that. And, so, actually, we might be better off. Hold on a minute. Yeah, well, we're going to do this. Let's declare the NS mutable array here. Detail array. This is going to give us a little bit of a warning here. They're going to declare the property too, like we did before, if you remember, which is non-atomic and retain, right? Whoops, sorry. And then we need this here. And remember, I'm only doing this for the sake of cutting down on a little bit of time. I could put it through the app delegate, which is where you should put it, and you know that. But just to show you the pushing of the view, which won't take much. And of course, we now have to synthesize this, right? Whoops, sorry. Yeah. So we synthesize here. Let's go up and do that. Whoops, sorry. It's got to be after the implementation. There we go. Okay, and we're good to go there. So now here we just say that detail array equals. Okay. Alright. So we now have access to it throughout the whole method here. And then over here, right, return. This is going to be in braces because we need to call a method. Detail array count. Count the number of the objects in the detail array. Whoops, put the next one there. We're going to comment this out as well. Alright, beautiful. Okay. And then over here, to configure the cell, which is pretty simple, we are going to say that the text label, remember this, text equals detail view array object add index, and this is the index path one, remember, index path dot row. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So now it's going to be able to put that in the cell. We're not going to bother with the configuring of the cell. We just want to show you that it's pushed and that it does get pushed. And you have another, in fact, another did select one here with more detail, if you have further detail. So that should be good. Alright, so, oh, and then we have to, almost forgot, we created a variable. We've got to release it. Whoops, sorry. I'm too fast. Okay. That should do well. Let's see if it runs the way it should. We're pushing it where. All right. Before we run it, I just want to. Well, we'll let it sit here in its state. Let's go to the root view controller. Just confirm we have it. Okay. So we're going to push this nib here to come up and animate it and then release it. Alright, so let's see what happens here when we do that. Yeah. Okay, look at that. There it goes. Very nice, right? Now, we're pushing it for every single item here, right? What if we wanted to push it for just one item? What if we didn't want to push it for, oh, I don't know, every single item we select? We could look at the item that we're selecting, and we could determine which one to use it on. So in other words, if we just wanted to click happy and this happens and the other ones it doesn't happen, we could do that as well. Alright? And we'd have to then push what's known as a cell, declare the cell method here, and then from there determine the text, or the item selected I should say, and then from there say an if then. I'm just going to go back here for a minute and open up one of my recent ones. I just don't remember the code off the top of my head. That's why I like to have places where I can pick those things up. Let me see here. I believe it's in my Viewdid. Just select row. Yeah, see this one here? Selected cell text label. That's the one we need. And did we declare that? Yeah. See, app delegate selection cell text. Well, that's cell text. Here it is. Right here is the method we want. Right? We could do it this way, or we could simply use the selected cell from here, this is it right here. This one here it takes a selected cell and then it truncates this whole little thing into one piece of code, which is nice to have it, but we're going to leave it that way for now. We're going to put that code right in here. Okay, so we have the selected cell, and then we're going to say if. Well, come on, give us the if then. There we go. If selected cell dot text label dot text equals, and we have to put two equals there. Remember, if you remember with the if then, it's double equal for a logical, or an exclamation point equals for a not equals. Logicals are very different. Equals happy, right? Happy. Then we're going to then take this area here. We're going to pull out the statement here. This is not needed, right? Our statement really is here. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, and we need a closing brace here to close up the if. There it goes. So let's see what happens here when we do this. We should get happy selected and nobody else. So if I hit doc, nothing happens. So if I hit grumpy, nothing happens. If I hit happy, we go back. Yeah, see, happy will allow us to do that. Now, you ask something here, wait a minute, why is it still selecting those? And that's a good question. There is a piece of code. Again, I'm not off the top of my head remembering all this code. It's a lot. We're going to just go to the other window here. By the way, you can switch from window to window in your window. Whoops, in your window. Okay. Let's see. There's a way of deselecting. Yeah, I think it is on the. We put an else in here, right? Else with braces. And this is going to be selected cell dot no. I think what the deselection of it is. I believe it is no. Selected cell. Unless it's calling it, maybe calling the method too. Selected cell. No, doesn't call a method. I'm trying to think of where it is. Let me see if I can find it for you quickly. I don't have a lot of time here, but I've done this before so that it would only select the item in question. It's a simple method, but I just don't remember. Table view, not deselect. No. Well, what we could do is there's a piece of code to deselect the cell, and it's a simple one. And I don't know it off the top of my head, so what we'll do is we'll end this tutorial here. We'll run this again for you and show you that you can push you can push a new view like so, right? By simply adding code and another class. So what do we do here? I'm going to polish this up when we come back for tutorial 12. But we added detail view controller and its declaration and implementation files, right? We added them, and then of course the nib. The nib has already been programmed for us. There's nothing to do there, and it's strictly a table view nib. And in the root view controller, what's our code there? We say here, the code that actually pushes it is the class of detail view controller. Create a variable here, allocate space, initialize with nib name, bundle with nil. And then of course push the view controller with this here, self navigation controller. Push view controller, the name of it detail view controller, and animate it. One other thing that we have to we should deallocate. If we did that, we should deallocate. I think we can do it. The detail view controller. No, we don't have to deallocate it. I take that back. The variable. Yeah, let's deallocate it. We can do that. Yeah, we should be able to do it. You want to make sure that you deallocate all the space. No, it's not going to come up. I guess because, yeah, we released it so soon it doesn't need to be deallocated. Which, it's only, here's the thing, it's only, the variable's only created within this scope. And so you can't release it or deallocate it anywhere else. Once you release it, it's gone from memory. So that's the other benefit of this. It's kept, but it's also not a benefit because if it's within this scope, you can't use it anywhere else. You have to then recreate the variable. Versus what we did, we created our variable here. The variable there is then accessible everywhere, but you have to make sure then you release it when you need to. So there's trade-offs to it. But in any event, what we're going to do when we come back for tutorial 12, because we're running long here, is this. You noticed one thing when we push this new view, right? And that is that we have this back button. We're going to customize this to say back instead of, it's saying the title here, which is by default what happens. We're going to have it say back. And then we're going to put another key up here to add, let's say, something to this table view as well. And once we do that, you're going to really see how these apps are working. Also, you'll notice one other thing too. Let me just go into that really quickly. I jump and jump and jump, I know. You'll notice that it kept this on the bottom. We're going to get rid of this. When we do that, we're going to lose it here, so we've got to put it back. And we're going to put it back too, and you're going to see how these methods work. So I'll see you in tutorial 12, where we finish the second part of pushing this table view. Take care.